Well, I guess the first question I have for you is, it's been a while since since antiviral. Why did it take so long, and why was this story the one that you wanted to tell?
To be honest, it just took that long to get the film made. It sometimes happens with independent films. In my case, also, Antiviral was my first film, and I didn't have a career back then. So when I finished it, I really was starting from scratch. I had to come up with another idea that I liked, and I had to write it and develop it. And then the process of financing the film took a while, which again is just a typical independent film problem.
Mhm.
It just happened to to go on for a fairly long time in this case. Uh,
Well, this film, where was it? Where was the inception of this? Because it's such an interesting idea, and I've seen the body swap type thing, but not in this way. Where did the story come from for you?
to be honest, the story came from a fairly trivial personal place, which is that I was going through a strange period where a lot was in flux for me. And I was at a certain point having trouble seeing myself in my own life. I was waking up in the morning and feeling like I was sitting up into someone else's life and having to scramble to construct some kind of character who could operate in that context. And so I ended up wanting to write a film about someone who may or may not be an imposter in their own life, uh, and use it as a way to discuss how we build character and narrative in order to operate as human beings. So the seed for the film really is in those more dramatic, subtle scenes, and then the thriller sci-fi elements built out from there.
Well, yeah, I think that's what's interesting about it. And I think we all, especially in this day and age, we're seeing a lot of mental illness kind of creep into our daily lives around us online. I feel like that in a way you kind of do feel like you're losing your mind. That kind of, sometimes we don't feel like we're ourselves. Was the time we're living in, did that play any effect on this character in creating these two?
Certainly, I mean, the intersection of technology and personality is completely fascinating right now, and also impossible in a sense to get a handle on. I think kind of in we're kind of a transitional generation, and I don't think we really understand what humanity will be once all of the technology that is being developed now kind of settles in. For instance, uh, the death of privacy through technology was something I wanted to talk about because the Snowden leaks happened during the writing process, and I thought that was very terrifying. When you look at things like now, say, the Russian influence on the US elections, I think we're only just starting to realize what it is to be a completely online society, and to, in a sense, be hackable because we're so influenced by the things that uh, we're doing and seeing online. That's incredibly meaningful, but also I don't think we have any sense of the true scope of what that is yet.
I would tend to agree with you. I feel we're so reliant on technology. Once that goes down, we're all like, we don't know what to do.
For sure, and technology is advancing at such an incredible rate right now. I mean, it's on the one hand fascinating. I love technology and I love everything that's happening. But on the other hand, it doesn't happen outside of us. It defines us in the same way that we define it.
Yeah.
And again, I think we're a transitional generation. I grew up before the internet was in anyone's home. I got in just before the internet became really a thing. And I sometimes think, okay, people will look back at me as being one of those weird, born just before 1900s people who didn't really know what they were getting into and didn't end up actually seeing uh, the effects of all of that technology that was being developed.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that works so well for me with this film is yes, it is gruesome. I mean, there are some very specific moments, but it's a very specific thought pattern. And when the gore happens, when the gruesome scenes, and they're gruesome, but they feel like there's a point. How did you approach those particular moments in a fairly grounded film?
Well, because Voss's relationship with violence is so much at the heart of her character and at the heart of the narrative, it was important to, first of all, be explicit about the violence. I think people had to feel it in a very visceral way just to understand her and to understand what she was going through, how it was shaping her. In some ways, her character resembles one of those pilots, drone pilots, who ends up with PTSD, even though they're not physically on the battlefield, but it's just the experience of that violence is so destructive. So when we approached it, as we approached many things in the film, because it's so subjective, we looked at how we could show the violence in some scenes in, for instance, more of an observational way, in a faster, more brutal way, and then in other scenes, especially when she's remembering the violence, when it's kind of in her, it becomes this stylistic, slow motion, impressionistic thing.
I definitely did get the sense that it was almost like a waking nightmare in a way. Andrea is phenomenal here. How difficult was it to decide to basically give her this kind of voice and give her this role?
I was very eager to give her that voice and that role, and it was interesting because she had seen Antiviral, and which I didn't realize, and had liked it. So when we got together for our first meeting, I was there desperate to work with her, thinking I was going to really have to work to convince her to be in the film. And then she showed up wanting to do the film, and it was a very short, friendly, confusingly easy meeting because we both just wanted to do it, and I was thrilled because I think she's a fantastic actress.
She is, as well. Christopher, this is a great cast.
Really good.
Was it difficult to kind of find, I guess, put the two actors in sync? Because you kind of have to, I guess.
Well, it was an interesting question. Early on, there was some discussion about process, because I thought we would need some sort of almost formal process that would allow us to have them both play the same character. So initially I was asking them, do they want to be on set with each other for each other's scenes? Does one of them want to be taking the lead essentially and the other one mimicking them, and so on? And there was a little bit of kind of theoretical exploration that didn't end up having any bearing on the actual process. When we actually made it, I basically came to them with some ideas about how the characters would overlap. I had my own thoughts. They had their own thoughts, and we discussed them. They also discussed with each other behind the scenes a bit what Voss would do in certain circumstances. I know there was some just direct talk between them. And then on set, from scene to scene, we would talk about it. And so after all that, it really just developed in a great organic way where we built it out together collaboratively.
It feels very organic. And then you have Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is just, I mean, she's always been phenomenal, but like, how did you get her involved? And I love this character. How did you approach her character?
I was very eager to work with her simply because she's a great actress, but also she isn't an actress who I think you would normally expect in that role. As written, that character could be a little bit straight and boring and end up being a kind of throwaway authority figure, which I didn't want. I wanted someone interesting to bring it to life. And that was one of her, I won't say requirements, but something she said early on is that she wanted to find a kind of interesting angle to that character and not play her too cool and not play her in this really straight way, which was exactly why I wanted an actress like that. So a lot of that stuff came from her, the sort of creams and she wanted the stuff to be able to work with, and I think she did a fantastic job.
Well, I think you did too, man. This is a fantastic film. Thank you for making it, and I hope people see this. I'm telling everyone I can. It's marvelous. So well, thank you, man.
That's incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much.
Cheers, man. Good meeting you.
You too. You too.
Cheers, buddy.
I can't pull the trigger.
I need to know. I need to know what she's done to me.
He's become a danger.
Where is she? Come out or I'll do it!
Sometimes that small thought is all it takes to lose control.